Okay, so adding and subtracting integers or signed numbers, whether they be fractions or decimals, integers are only going to be whole numbers. And so we'll start with that and then eventually move to fractions and decimals. But if I was you, I would be sure to save and keep this little ditty right here, rules for adding and subtracting signed numbers. It's a lot of people find this to be one of the most confusing things ever with math. It's really very simple if you just follow this simple set of rules. If the signs are the same, you find the sum, which means to add them. If the signs are different, you find the difference, which means to subtract them. And then in the end of all this, you put the sign of the bigger number. And so by bigger, I do not mean um, there's a difference between size and value. So for instance, -5 has less value than 2 does, but -5 is bigger than 2 is. And so when I say the bigger number, I simply mean the larger number, or the number with the larger absolute value. And so what we're going to do here is we've got -6 plus -3. Now we look at the signs on the numbers. -6 is negative, 3 is negative. Their signs are the same. So we see that we have the same sign. We're going to find the sum, which means we're going to add the numbers up. 6 and 3 makes 9. And I put the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is -6. Or sorry, the bigger number is 6. It's negative, so my answer is going to be negative. Next, -6 plus 2. I see that the signs here are different. 6 is negative and 2 is positive. That means we find the difference because the signs are different. So the difference between 6 and 2 is 4. And then we put the sign of the bigger number. 6 is bigger than 2. It's negative, so our answer is negative. Okay? We're going to be looking at 4 plus -4. We see that the signs are different. The first 4 is positive, the second 4 is negative, so we find the difference, which means to subtract. The difference between 4 and 4 is 0. And neither 4 or 4 are bigger. And so there is not going to be a sign on there because 0 just doesn't have a sign. -1 plus -2. We see that the signs are the same. -1 and -2, the signs are the same, so we find the sum, which means to add. 1 plus 2 makes 3. We put the sign of the bigger number. 2 is bigger than 1. It's negative, so our answer is negative. Next, we have -6 plus -3. We see that the signs are the same, -6 and -3. So we find the sum. We're going to add 6 and 3 to get 9. We put the sign of the bigger number. 6 is bigger than 3. It's negative. Our answer is negative. -3 plus 5. We see that the signs are different. We have a -3 and a +5. We're going to find the difference, which means to subtract. 5 minus the difference between 3 and 5 is 2. 5 is bigger. It's positive, and so our answer is positive. We don't need to put the plus sign for numbers that are positive. We just leave them the way that they are. A couple more. 6 plus -3. Signs are different. The 6 is positive, the 3 is negative. So we find the difference. The difference between 6 and 3 is 3. 6 is the bigger number. It's positive, so our answer is positive. -1 plus -2. We see that the signs are the same. So we're going to find the sum. Again, -1 and -2 are both negative. Their signs are the same. The sum, which means to add 1 plus 2, is 3. We put the sign of the bigger number. 2 is bigger than 1. It's negative, so the answer is negative. We'll do one more pair. And if you just follow the same exact set of rules every single time, you will always be right. -6 plus -3. We see that the signs are the same, so we're going to find the sum, which means to add. 6 plus 3 makes 9. 6 is the bigger number. It's negative. Our answer is negative. Next, -5 plus 5. We see that the signs are different, so we're going to subtract. And 5 minus 5 is 0. And 0 doesn't have a sign, positive or negative. Again, I will encourage you, write these rules down and follow those rules every single time. You will never be wrong.